evening. So today is the third installment of the Saturday morning cartoons for us Gen Xers. And today, this evening, I'm going to be talking about the ABC network, years 1976 to 1979. And also, I'd like to add, if you like this content and you want to see more like this, some Gen X facts, things we grew up with, and just basically how we are, which is latchkey kids, cynical, whatever. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to comment if you have any questions, or if I've messed up on describing what was on each of these networks for cartoons. So we're going to get started. So we're going to get started with 1976. And in 1976, the lineup was Tom and Jerry, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen Tom and Jerry. Think of it like Sylvester and Tweety, but with a cat and a mouse. So they also had like variations of Tom and Jerry, and there was like, I want to say like the older cartoons, or like the cartoons that first came out with Tom. He was so cute, the way they drew him. And then, as the years went on, he just looked more mature. He's still cute, but he was just really super cute back then. And then next we have a show called Jabberjaw. And it was actually, I love that show. It was about a shark who was a drummer in a band in a world that was under the sea in the year 2076, which really is not that far off. And thankfully I'll be dead by then. But anyway, and what they did was, I don't know if I mentioned that he was in the band with 4 teenagers in that year. And basically they would try to keep the peace in the under the sea world. They basically fought crime against people who were trying to take over the cities in that underworld. So that was a good one. And then next was the Scooby-Doo and the Dynamite Hour. And then we know who Scooby-Doo is. And Dynamite was another show, animated, that was about a dog. And he kind of looked like Scooby-Doo. He kind of looked like that big Great Dane. Except he was more like a robot, I believe. And he was a sidekick to some millionaire who had an alias as the Blue Falcon, I think he was. That was his superhero name. And he was actually like kind of a klutz, where he had his limbs that would like stretch out, and he had gadgets on him. And I guess his limbs would come out at the wrong time, or his gadgets would come out at the wrong time. And he was like really clumsy. So he was basically not helpful to Blue Falcon, and he would hinder them getting the bad guy. They eventually do, but it's just more like from getting from point A to B was kind of like this with him. And so that was the Dynamite show. And then I mentioned on the NBC vlog that the Croft Super Show was on that network. So I'm assuming that at some point, since it's mentioned in 1976, that, and in 1977 on ABC, that in 1978 it moved networks to NBC. So the Croft Super Show, I think I explained that in the NBC vlog. So it was just like this groovy band, and they had like different segments to their show. That's actually the end of the lineup for 1976 for ABC. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about ABC's Saturday morning cartoons for 1977. And that started out with the Super Friends, which was an awesome, awesome show. It was basically about all of the superheroes, like Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Robin. It was like all those superheroes. And obviously they were superheroing. And so I love that show. And then next we had Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics. And that was a show that had segments of Scooby-Doo, Blue Falcon, and Dynomat. I mentioned that show in 1976. And Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. I love that show too. And a couple of other segments. The Laugh Olympics was Scooby-Doo and Yogi Bear, like a bunch of other cartoon characters doing what was their cartoon version of Battle of the Network Stars. And I am going to do a vlog on Battle of Network Stars because I was a huge fan. Then next, to round it off, was the Croft Super Show, which I mentioned that in 1978 they moved to NBC. So that is the roundup for 1977. And then next we're going to go to 1978. And the 1978 lineup was a show called Fang Face, which was a show about some teenagers, and I think it was like one was named Biff and Pugsy or Bugsy or something like that. And Fang Face was kind of like a teen werewolf that when the moon shone on him, he became a werewolf, and he had like big old buck looking teeth, and they would just basically get into all sorts of capers. I don't really remember that show too well, but I kind of remember what Fang Face looked like. So that's Fang Face. And then next was Super Friends again. And the Scooby-Doo All-Stars was also, again, in 1978. And then, here's an interesting one. Pink Panther is in the ABC lineup for 1978, but it was on NBC in 1976. So at one point, I don't think it was on in 1977 anywhere. So it might have taken like a hiatus or something and then switched networks. So that actually rounds up 1978. Now we're going to talk about the ABC network for Saturday morning cartoons for 1979. And that started with Super Friends again. The next show was Plastic Man. And Plastic Man, I kind of remember it a little bit. He was a superhero. I think he was like a part of the DC comics, which is kind of another thing I want to get into later, which is the DC and the Marvel universe, the differences and what superheroes wear. But anyway, Plastic Man was able to kind of contort himself into different shapes and get through areas where it was difficult to get through. So that was basically his strength to kind of get in and out of situations, I guess. And then another show was Spider Woman, which I did not know there was a Spider Woman. I always remember Superwoman and Supergirl, but so they had Spider Woman. And then to round it off was Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. Now, if you remember Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, most people thought that Scrappy-Doo was kind of like an annoying little pup, but I love all dogs. So if you thought he was annoying, I guess you could think of him as like Jar Jar Binks on the Star Wars universe, where he was like really annoying and there was no need to have him, but I thought he was cute. So that rounds out for 1979 on the ABC network for Saturday morning cartoons. And that ends our segment for now on Saturday morning cartoons, because at some point I want to get to talk about the 1980s. I know that the cartoons pretty much lasted until, I want to say, the 90s or the early 2000s. I can't remember when. I'll have to research that. But I know a part of the reason that they basically did away with the Saturday morning cartoons is because it's kind of like a lot of slapstick humor and violence and things that are like figurative, not literal. And I guess maybe they felt that kids, younger kids would take it literally and try these things. I guess like, trying to eat Tide Pods. I don't know. How realistic could it be to be like a road runner and having a coyote running into walls that the road runner painted on, like things like that. I guess they just felt it was too traumatizing, which, hey, we're Gen X. If you want to talk about traumatizing, try living our lives. We went through some major stuff. We have every right to be cynical and to question authority, and we just mind our business and do our own things. We like to stay under the radar. I guess we're realistic, and we know that all these cartoons are just guilty pleasures and they're not anything you're going to act out on, but I guess that's the way the world is today. So, but I am going to get into some more cartoons because that was a part of my childhood, and darn it, I enjoyed them. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll chat soon. We'll hang out. So I may be taking a little break here and there. I'm going to be doing a little bit of different content for the next couple of weeks. It is definitely Gen X related, and it's a little bit ADHD related. It's kind of like, let's say, the realization of having the ADHD as an older adult, being Gen X, and trying to go back and piece together my life. So it's not anything deep or serious or sad. It's going to be really cool. So I hope you all have a great night, and we will talk next time. Bye.